Hello everybody, I'm going to try to get a little bit more time in here for this animation. Now I do like how this frame is looking. He looks a little bit smaller than he did in the idle frame here for the crouch. Now I think it's because the leg might be too short, but I'm not going to worry too much right now about the exact the way the drawing looks right now, but I think the movement is a little bit off. So if I play it right here, actually let me make it so that it only plays the crouch. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here because it only plays the frames that you're looking at. Now, it's a little bit clunky, you know. I know these are single frames for the in-betweens, but I think, honestly, from a fighting game perspective, it can be smoother than that. Like, I think this wind-up is not necessary. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this one. So if I now just do that, yeah, that looks fine. And I think the smears are even a little bit excessive. So I'm going to get in here and go to drawing mode and maybe erase a little bit out of this. The smears don't need to be that pronounced. I'm going to go back to my HB pencil here. Oh, let me undo a couple strokes. Okay, let's go to black here. Because I feel like from this crouching position, he's not dashing forward like he is with the standing one. So I think he can just instantly get to that position. Yeah, with a little bit of the wind up, I think maybe we'll do another frame, kind of like for the standing one, another frame for the wind up, because it's a little bit stiff. So we're gonna split that frame up into two probably, and that might look better. Maybe even three, but we'll figure it out. Now the main thing we want to do, I think we'll just get into this one. Yeah, I could adjust this one, but I think we'll get into this one here. So that'll be my goal for today. Oh, did I start my timer? I didn't. Let's start it. Okay, so 25 minutes starting now. So let's get in here. Let's move that, drag that down, and we're gonna use our HB pencil. Now it's not showing me enough. Oh, it's not showing me the onion skins at all. Okay, so that's why. So I want to make sure I don't lose like the position of his body. Now, if he's moving forward here, how is he going to tilt? So we're going to mark where his feet are planted, because we're going to have to adjust the legs. Yeah, so feet planted there. Like this. And if he's going to be leaning forward even more with shoulders raised and then deltoid here, elbow maybe right here, and then hands here. Let's bring this hand up a little bit more closer to the other hand. Now, if his torso is going to be this small, I think he might be leaning forward toward the viewer slightly, with his spine kind of curled inward like that. I don't want it to look awkward, though. I still want this pose to look cool. Okay. So I do have a topic. I'm getting into the topic a little bit late here, but I want to talk about David Goggins. Now, this is a lot different from the people I normally talk about, which are the Catholic saints. Now, what it seems to me that I've been looking for. Now, when I read Saint Teresa of Avila's book, The Interior Castle, I was looking for guidance in prayer, and I found it. Really wonderful book. Very deep. It's about very deep levels of prayer, like deep levels of prayer. Mysticism, like it's the kind of stuff kind of wonder about like what are Buddhist monks doing when they're meditating the Om, when they're sitting there saying Om, what is the Christian version of that? And I find it in Saint Teresa of Avila, and she's related to Saint John of the Cross, who is another one I want to read. Now again, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a professor. It's not my job to like be a master of these concepts, but I realize what I'm doing is I'm looking towards these people for an example. That's why they write their books, is to help people understand things that they are already sort of discovered, or things that they know about in some way. And the saints are humble enough to know that they're not masters of this. They're sinners still, and they're just trying to reach God in the same way we all are. But here's some of my experience, and that's what I found in Saint Teresa of Avila's book, The Interior Castle. So I've been reading all these books. I've been reading Saint Augustine. I've been reading about Saint Basil. I haven't read his direct writings yet. I read Saint Athanasius' biography of Saint Anthony the Great. So you guys know I've been reading those things. So why David Goggins? Well, I mean, he wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me, and I've just been really curious about it. Like, what does he have to say? I'm not, a proponent of David Goggins' lifestyle. I mean, he seems like, athletics for the sake of athletics, I have never really wanted to do. But I know that he does it for himself, and I really want to know what he's all about. Because, well, the main thing that is striking about David Goggins is the transformation. He went from a really terrible background, and being extremely overweight, to someone who really did achieve record-breaking athletic ability when it comes to like endurance, and not just endurance physically, but the mental endurance is a huge part of his story. And I do not think I have suffered as much as David Goggins. And I don't know what kind of people talk about, willpower and determination and motivation. Not really. Well, motivation is the one that's like can't be trusted, but willpower and determination like being a thing. And for me, I always found that, okay, I read Atomic Habits, and it says willpower and motivation are kind of overrated, and it's better to, arrange your life. If you're going to make decisions, make them so that you arrange your life in a way that it's kind of easier to make these decisions. Okay, so I've gotten here, and I'm actually going to go in the back and playback mode. I think this is fine. I think this position is fine, and then I think I'll get his hands a little bit closer to his head, so it looks like he's kind of guarding himself and attacking, which is kind of in the spirit of an anti-air in fighting games. We'll bring his hands a little bit closer, so that's why I play back, so I get the review and give myself a little bit of feedback. Okay. So David Goggins Can't Hurt Me is what I've started reading. I'm a couple chapters in, and I am really enjoying the book, because, whether or not his lifestyle is something I want to mirror, I do want to mirror the change that happened, going from someone, not playing the victim, not wanting to have a victim mentality, because I'm not a victim, and making a change. And willpower, for me, what does that mean? It's like just making decisions. Like, have I been coasting along in life, hardly making a decision at all? Taking what is spoon-fed to me. The upbringing I had was not super difficult. I didn't have a perfect family. Most people don't. Some issues with my mom and my dad, and my siblings. But we always had a decent house. I'm to be honest with myself, I didn't have major disadvantages there. I guess this would be called like checking my privilege kind of thing. But and the suffering that I've experienced in life is, you don't want to invalidate anyone's suffering, and I don't want to invalidate my own. I have suffered, but what I will say is there are people who have suffered way more than me, and people who have been dealt a far worse hand than I have, including David Goggins. And from reading the first chapter of his book, which talks about, his early life as a kid, he's been through some extreme hardship, really, really extreme. And I'm not going to talk about it too much, but, and I'm not trying to plug his book either, but, his business is he's written it down, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. You can probably learn it from him. Um, but how does it relate to me? Well, I want to acknowledge my own sufferings, and understand, like, what happened. And but it's not about that, because I spend a lot of time already in my life trying to understand things. Like, I get it, I get what I've been through, and I get what I need to do, but the decision to do it is where David Goggins really shines. Because I should put on focus mode. It's not blocking that app freebie alerts. Okay, so that's something that I've really struggled with in my life. Like, there are times. Okay, I'm gonna move his hands back here. I'm actually I kind of want to play this back and see if the hand position looks okay. Yeah, I think this is okay, and we don't need to do that, like, extension where his hands go a little bit past. Like, we can kind of just keep it. Whoa! Oh, that's a glitch. The flip book is not showing. Ooh, that is a visual bug. Oh wait, no, it's not. I was in the wrong track here. Why is there an extra track? Oh, that's the electricity track. Okay. So let's get back in there. Okay. So there are times in my life where I would be laying down, and stuck, and call it a lack of motivation, call it a lack of willpower, but I would literally ask myself, why can't I move? Even in times where I wasn't particularly feeling depressed, I wasn't particularly feeling anxious, I was just like, why is my body just not going? I know what I need to do, and they say knowledge is half the battle, and I have always had, like, kind of too much knowledge, like excessive amount of, like, I'm always digging for knowledge, always wanting to know more, and but why can't I do? And only until recently, I've started really feeling something, like, or at least recognizing something that, because I've been practicing. I think it's because I've been practicing certain types of asceticism. I've been taking my cold showers. I've been fasting on food. Sometimes there's a period I was fasting on food a lot more, or restricting my food to certain things. Okay, I'm gonna start putting in those shapes now. Pants here. Now his torso looks a little bit small here, but so I might extend the leg a bit more. And I haven't, I'm not a perfect ascetic, right? But I've been practicing some things, and I think it's the asceticism. I'm not really sure what it is. It's helped me recognize when I'm in that mode, and just learning to make a decision, like, a lot faster, and or, like, right away if possible, until it becomes automatic. But I've started to notice, like, the vices welling up in me. Like, let's think about, like, going back to Catholicism here, or Christianity, the 7 deadly sins, right? My biggest vices were sloth, lust, and I've realized also pride. And we have all of them to some degree. I don't feel like I have a huge problem with wrath or envy, but we have all of them to some degree. And I just want to recognize sloth being the biggest one. Biggest problem in my life that has caused the most problems, and lust as well, but that kind of is connected to sloth. So I recognize that sloth has been sort of my biggest, call it a demon, and just really tackling that demon has been a challenge. And I'm starting to recognize that I don't like sloth. In my whole big videos before about acedia, these reflections I'm really kind of wrestling with myself here, and trying to remember what the things I've already learned, and kind of bring them together. So this is kind of another banter piece, but I remember from my studies about acedia that sloth is not necessarily. Hold on, I want to make sure that that's in the right place. Yeah, it's like roughly there. Sloth is not necessarily just being lazy and staying in bed and not wanting to do anything. It's self-distraction. It's, what was acedia defined as again? It's a sorrow over the good in your life. And what does that mean? That means even a task or a gift that you've been given, you don't want to take care of that gift or do the task, even though it's a very noble task, because it will be difficult. And what is the opposite of sloth, or rather the corresponding virtue that that can arise to tackle sloth. It's called diligence. And what is diligence? I don't remember the exact definition from Ripperger, but it's something like doing the arduous, wanting to do the arduous, the difficult, toil by the sweat of your brow. And sometimes that, a lot of the time it's mental. A lot of these people like Kobe Bryant and David Goggins, who I want to read, are, we'll say it really starts from within. And athletes have been saying this for the longest time. Like, they have their bodies and their skills, but it starts with the decisions. It starts from within. It starts with some kind of determination. And I have never had that or understood it. And I've never understood why I didn't have it. And I think it's only in the practice of decision making. Like, I really think because I started out with Exodus 90. It's a Catholic thing. I don't really participate with an Exodus 90 Brotherhood anymore. But it's almost as if like a lot of those things have been absorbed into my life. Like, I don't watch TV. I don't watch sports. So do I scroll on social media? Not really, not anymore. So it's like a lot of those things out of necessity and out of the desire to discipline myself more have kind of been siphoned out of my life. Siphon, is that the right word? They've been removed. They've been cleared out of my life. And I would like them to stay there because I have a lot of freedom and happiness now that a lot of those things are gone. And when it comes to something like cold showers, like now, I used to like really hesitate for the cold showers. And I think in some way I still do. And I don't have to do it. Like, in my prayer life, I did hear sort of a message that, I don't have to do any strange, weird, cruel self-punishment, strange asceticisms. I don't have to do that. I have tasks before me, and it's like, as long as I do them well, do the will of God, take care of myself, take care of my family, then, I don't have to do anything like super strange beyond that. But I take the cold showers because I like them now. And I prefer them to being warm because it's like being in a warm shower now feels wrong. Like, it's comfortable. And I think that comfort feels wrong to me. And I think this is a really good change because I've always been bad about quote unquote, stepping out of your comfort zone. I've always known what that meant, but I've never been good at it. I've always had a very, very comfortable zone that my body and my mind wanted to stay in. And I use the word want carefully because my deeper want that I was never really able to pursue was success. It was like, I did want to be a hard worker. I did want to, be able to be decisive and make changes in my life. I suffered from those vices for a really long time, and I still do, but it's more that since I'm trying to address them and changes have been made, I am suffering still the consequences of my vices, and we don't recognize this when we're young, but one of the great weaknesses of children is that children will not naturally look at long-term consequences. So like if a children wants candy or a Coke or something like that, and you'll tell them, it's going to ruin your teeth. They're not thinking about ruining their teeth. They're thinking about the taste of the candy that they want, right? And that's very simple childlike immaturity, the inability to look at long-term consequences, second and third order consequences, or infinite consequences, going down the course of life and time. Because all actions have infinite consequences. All actions, even tiny ones, even involuntary ones, will have effect on the great calculus, the butterfly effect. So that great responsibility lies in every moment, every decision. That can be suffocating. That can be daunting. So when one starts to think about, okay, what are the long-term consequences of this thing? It can be really daunting, but the excitement comes from okay, making good decisions has this can have the same power in consequence as making bad ones. And we tend to dwell over, okay, these are the bad decisions I made in my life. Or I say we, but really I tended to dwell on okay, here are all the bad decisions I've made, and this is the effect that it's had on me and the people I love and others around me. It's had terrible effects. But now, let's practice making good decisions. Let's practice making hard decisions, like the ones that will make me uncomfortable. And now I can find myself lying in bed, and I can recognize that feeling. Like, when it comes to recognizing the demons, there's a few. Like let's take pride, for example. If I start kind of arguing with people in my head, like preparing for an argument that may never happen, and having these conversations with people and conversations with myself, trying to like defend myself or trying to argue my way into like winning an argument or something, or like trying to prove myself, I notice that that's pride. For me, that's pride creeping in, and I've started to recognize it, and I just tell my mind to shut up. I tell my mind to shut up, and I just try to do something productive instead. Not productive necessarily, but do something good. Productive. I think the word productive is overrated. I think the word good is better, especially coming from Christian background. I think it's important for me to focus on that. What is good? Good is love. Willing the good of the other and doing it. Not just the will, but doing the will. Okay. So I know I'm not going to be able to complete this thought in the time I have. I got like 6 minutes left on my timer. And again, I want to focus more on the drawing here. But I think I'm moving toward a much healthier place where I'm finally able to recognize. Yeah, I was talking about recognition of demons, right? So if we talk about lust, right? Wandering eyes, wandering memories, and it's like, okay, I know I need to get my attention off of it. And it's like, naturally I recognize, wow, I was so kind of messed up, like in how my eyes would wander and my memories would wander, my thoughts would wander. And it's kind of like a shameful feeling to recognize, okay, because I'm catching myself this number of times, that must mean that I was just allowing myself to wander that much in the past. But I need to get over that shame too. I need to just get over that and be like, okay, well, this is a good practice and let's keep doing it. But at least it's recognition and then doing the right thing. And as long as I keep practicing that, the opposite of what I was doing in my past, it should become automatic, right? It should become just ingrained into me that I will not do it. That's at least my hope. Because I know brain wiring is something difficult to reverse. Some consider it impossible. Maybe it has to be like a catching and recognizing thing. And I don't know if I'll able to just right away be pure of mind, but I believe, I trust in the practice, and I trust in God, and I trust in the power of virtue, and I trust that making these decisions is going to have a good effect on me. So now, thinking about sloth and those moments where whether it's fatigue, because sometimes it's just from fatigue. And I'm starting to notice the difference between ego fatigue, mental depletion, and physical fatigue. It feels a bit different. And I'm thinking maybe in the past, again, I don't want to diagnose it, but I'm thinking maybe in the past I was experiencing a lot of fatigue of the will. They call it mental depletion. They call it ego fatigue. It has a lot of names, but the brain uses glucose, and sometimes if you're highly, if you've been stressed, you will have less power to make a decision or make a quality decision. And I'm starting to recognize that, and it's like, okay, let's make it like maybe what I was feeling was not physical tiredness, but some kind of ego depletion. Again, I'm just guessing, but I have been trying to practice. Okay, I recognize this now. Let's do the opposite, and let's just get out of bed and just keep moving. We got things to do, And it's such a basic thing. It's embarrassing. It's almost embarrassing to talk about it because it's such a basic thing. Like, for some people, some families, this work ethic is just ingrained in their bodies. Like they would probably think, you're a wuss. You are crazy for being, almost 35 years old and just now realizing this. But that's just another thing. I can hear that. I can hear myself criticizing myself. Like, yeah, other people can criticize me, and they do, and they will. But it's like, what use is that criticism except to, what am I to do with that? Like, I can either wallow in shame and just think, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like this forever, this is who I am. No, I mean, I really want to avoid getting into this macho masculine just do it mentality, because I do have compassion for the person who was lying in bed. I have compassion for that kid that I was. But the solution does not change. The solution is going to be, let's address that demon, and the only way it's addressed is by moving, by making the decision to move. Movimiento es vida. Okay, so I'm starting to recognize that more, starting to do it more. Okay, so I did want to extend this leg. His leg looks a little scrunched up here. I think zooming out is important here. I think I don't have to get the perfect line right away, as much as I would like to. And the knee is going to be like really hugging the floor there, so I think the fold in the pants would be like right there. I do think, though, that the folds will still be coming from the crease in the middle, so the flow would be kind of like that. Should we get thigh muscle in there? What is this, quads? Yeah, get that curve of the quads, and then bring the knee down. Yeah, I think that's better. Now, he's a small kid, so he's not going to have like huge legs like Ryu or something, but just get that curve in there. I want to get the angle of these arms right. Yeah, I think it's okay to keep my lines a little bit loose. I've been really rigid with these lines, trying to get it right on the first try. Like, we need to work our way to getting it on the first try. We need to work our way toward practice makes perfect. And that's a life that I lived in video games, right? I was practice makes perfect, and I got so good at these video games and winning all these tournaments, and now I'm just applying it to my body and mind. I was using my body and mind in these video games, but to what end? That is the real trap of video games. Like, I don't think that the way that they engage the brain is necessarily bad. Like, kids love them because they engage their brains, and that's great. And I can talk about this more in the next video, because my timer just went off. Yeah, maybe that's the next thing we'll talk about. To what end, right? Okay, so I'll talk to you guys later. God bless. Bye-bye.